C2N Diagnostics was fortunate to be able to participate in this roundtable that was assembled by a group focused on p-tau217 analyte measurements, and these are emerging commercial diagnostic tests. And I think the primary reason for the panel related to the fact that there's been so much progress in understanding that particular analyte, phosphorylated tau fragment at the 217 site, that in its role to identify Alzheimer's disease pathology, that there was a feeling that it would be important to try to continue to educate the audience about all that we've learned, kind of give a summation of the evidence that a number of commercial test developers have been working on to bring these really innovative tests to the market for clinical care. C2N Diagnostics provides the PrecivityAD2 test, which includes the phosphorylated tau217 measurement. Now, we actually use high-resolution mass spectrometry to measure not only the phosphorylated 217 tau fragment, but also the non-phosphorylated tau 217 fragment. And so that's known as the percent p-tau217, or the p-tau ratio value. And the PrecivityAD2 test actually goes a step further in that it integrates the ratio of p-tau217 to non-p-tau217 with amyloid-β 42/40, which is another biomarker associated with Alzheimer's disease pathology. And it integrates it into a score called the amyloid probability score 2. So the APS2 is a test that has been extensively analytically and clinically validated, but there continue to be questions about how we can best use these high precision tools in clinical care. So the purpose of the QUIP2 study, which we reported the top line results at CTAD, were very exciting because it gave us the first insights into how clinicians are using this test in the real world and how they're using it to influence clinical decision making. And some of the key findings were several-fold. One, neurologists who we offered the test to, who participated in this study, readily understood how to use the test according to the specified clinical indications. The PrecivityAD2 test is indicated for patients 55 years of age and older who are experiencing cognitive concerns and are undergoing evaluation for Alzheimer's disease. And we wanted to ask the clinicians, when you use a test in clinical care, are you using it according to the specified indications? That was the first question. The second question was, how easy is it for the clinicians to interpret the results? And based on the interpretation of those results, how does it then influence clinical decision making? And some of the key findings from that study is that when clinicians had this tool available, their diagnostic confidence in Alzheimer's disease for these patients who presented with cognitive concerns went from, on average, about 50 to 60% up to over 90%. And what that suggests to us is that, in fact, the clinicians are interpreting the test correctly, and they believe in the test, that it's helping to inform the likelihood that a patient has Alzheimer's disease. In addition, we found that the test significantly influenced how patients were medically treated. So we found people who wound up having a negative APS2 score, which would be inconsistent with an Alzheimer's disease diagnosis, had an over 70% reduction in drug use that's currently used in Alzheimer's disease care. We also found that the clinicians, based on a negative test result, were much less likely to prescribe downstream testing. So we find that in a patient who has a negative test result, the clinicians are able to take patients off of treatments where they might have considered the patient needing that drug because of Alzheimer's disease. Because that test is coming back negative, they're now much more confident that the patient does not have Alzheimer's disease as the cause of their cognitive concerns, and they say, therefore, it would be inappropriate to treat the patient with an anti-AD treatment. And furthermore, the test is providing so much confidence that there's a dramatic reduction in downstream testing that's needed to help sort out what the clinical condition is. We found that patients who had a positive APS-2 score, that led to a significant increase in the appropriate prescription of disease-modifying therapies and other anti-Alzheimer's disease treatments. And then also we found that there was a decrease in downstream testing because, in fact, the clinicians were confident this test was providing them key results. So this is really the first clinical utility experience that we have with this new test, which we introduced back in the third quarter of 2023. And as clinicians are gaining experience with it, they're reporting very favorable results. And this data is currently under submission and review and will be published in a peer-reviewed journal soon.